Hello, it's Gavin Rich from IGN, and we're here at EVE's Fanfest in Iceland to have a look at some of the virtual reality stuff the CCP, the people who make EVE Online, have been doing. Now, they're very well known for their sort of EVE Valkyrie thing, which is like a proper game. And you're in the cockpit, and it's like a sort of dogfighting in space type thing. We've had a go on their newest build of that. It's okay. It's like just
it's
better
good
than Valkyrie before.
It kind of feels like what it did 2 years ago.
Yeah. Just looks kind of a bit nicer.
Yeah, but I think there's some really cool things that they're putting out which aren't actually in Valkyrie.
Exactly.
And it's all the other VR stuff that they're working on, which is going on right behind us.
Yeah. So they're calling it the VR Labs thing, and basically they've just let some of the developers go away with virtual reality and go, hey, make something cool. If we can make a game out of it, they don't actually know. Like, we've just watched Hilmar, who runs CCP, give his opening welcoming keynote to everyone who's come to FanFest, and he said, we're working on these VR Labs things. There's a couple of there's 4 tech demos. Are we going to be able to make a new game? They don't know, but it's cool that they're sort of trying things out. So what have we got? We had a go on the ship spinner, which is kind of like you sort of look at an EVE ship and you get to go inside it, and there's you can launch the drones, which you can sort of bat away with your hands. It's proper Minority Report stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're kind of standing in this space, which is pretty much empty, all space around you, and you got the ship right there in front of you, and it's using the wrist technology where if you move forward, sensors that are going to tell you that you're going forward, and you're literally looking at minute detail inside the ship.
It's really hard to actually do without sort of standing there like Slacker going, whoa.
Yeah.
The other one is the workshop, and this is the one that you can see right here, and that's basically a bunch of different things. One of the things that Hilmar again said a couple of FanFests ago is he wanted to be able to hold a fireball in his hand and throw it, which is what this lets you kind of do. Yeah,
so in the workshop you've got 4 kind of different arenas that you can explore a little bit, and one of them has 2 podiums either side of you, and one of them's got electricity or something like that, and then a fireball either side, and you've got these pillars in front of you, and you have to literally just pick them up and then knock these pillars down. And I think it works well. I mean, obviously it's kind of proof of concept at the moment, but you do feel like you're actually picking kind of something up and you're moving it towards something else, which is the aim of the game, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I think there's another one as well which shows the outline of your body and it says say hello to yourself. And for the first time, usually, if you do a virtual reality thing, you look down and there's legs there, but they're not going to be your legs. Whereas this, you look down, you see your feet, you can see it moving around. It even had my tattoos on
and your own clothes and everything.
It was really odd, but then it shows you a giant version of yourself. And if you're a little bit weight conscious, seeing a giant version of yourself sort of hovering, towering over you, you think, I should probably lose some weight, I think.
Another thing in there, you've got kind of a pile of boxes, and you can kind of play with them, you can kick them, you can punch them over, that kind of thing.
The only thing with that is I started trying to walk away, and one of the users sort of bring me back and put me back on this sort of starting hexagon.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously with this at the moment you're tethered because Oculus Rift isn't wireless yet.
But you can sort of see it's you're plugged into the ceiling type thing.
But one thing that is wireless is the Gear VR, which we also had to go on.
We did, yeah. So they're running a thing called Project Nemesis, which is kind of a bit like Valkyrie. I actually preferred it to Valkyrie.
I did as well, yeah.
You hold the headset, and the way you shoot is you don't have a controller. You just sort of touch your head, and you swipe for your missiles, and you just keep your finger on to actually shoot it. That feels like proper Star Trek. Just bring.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I think the difference between that and Valkyrie is that you do kind of get a sense that you're actually shooting something, and what you're doing is actually making a difference, whereas I feel like in Valkyrie there's a lot going on, and it's really hard to kind of concentrate on one thing and actually shoot and get the job done.
Well, the fact that Valkyrie's multiplayer, I think, that's really easy to make you feel awesome because you're just against an AI, whereas when you're against other players, of varying qualities, it's a bit different. But then, when I'm playing Valkyrie, I don't have the sense that I'm destroying things. I had 3 kills at one point in Valkyrie, and I didn't feel like I'd actually done that. When you're shooting, it doesn't feel like you're actually doing it. Whereas with a Project Nemesis, it really feels like you're in control. I think maybe because you actually, you're looking at things and sort of taking it down.
I think as well with that, you're really using the technology further than kind of Valkyrie is, because you're forced to look around rather than being able to just kind of float through space and turn through space. With this, I mean, you're on rails, but you've got to look around to actually shoot the ships.
And the other thing they've got is the disc arena, which is a 1v1. Then the person actually stands opposite you as well, and it's basically like air hockey, but you've got a shield and you can throw these sort of discs. I quite liked it. The guy who was opposite me had played it before, so he was a bit
better.
He had some tactics, whereas I was just sort of trying to get him. there's a tactic, basically, if you get it up behind them, it's really hard to get the shield round to be able to stop it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting stuff, and it's really exciting to actually get control of and like play all this virtual reality stuff. But that's the thing, where's it gonna go? Like, we've seen all this Valve stuff as well, like all these like tech demos. Sort of feels like, you know, CCP have been working on it a while. Are they closer than Valve to coming up with an actual game that they can do?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like they are. I mean, Valkyrie's closer than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. We don't know when this is going to come into the mainstream yet.
No.
There's been a lot more hype about virtual reality, like especially in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But as you say, where is it going to go? Is it going to happen? I think the Gear VR is really good because it's untethered, so you can literally play it on your commute to work, which I think is really cool. You might look a bit silly, but
you'd look like an idiot like sitting on the tube doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather read a book, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But that's what we've seen anyway. For everything else virtual reality and EVE, keep it right here on IGN.